Here's two books about drawing scenery and trees. This one, Jack Hamm, Drawing Scenery, Landscapes, and Seascapes. Henry Pitz did this one, Drawing Trees. So let's look at Drawing Scenery by Jack Hamm first. And I bought this one. It says 72, but I know I bought this. It says 82 for Parigi printing. I must have bought this way after that. Probably happened to see it somewhere. What Jack Hamm is first concerned about is composition and dividing up your space to make a good picture. So let's see what he's got here. How to focus the attention of your viewer on your composition, mostly dealing in rectangles. Tells you how to divide a space, principles of good space division, how the eye travels around a picture. Such good stuff here. The principles that help in scenery drawing and painting, how to make three shapes appear to relate to each other in your drawing, painting. Threes are what we like to see in pictures, how to tell a picture story. Jack Hamm is very thorough in these books. Again, that was how the eye travels in a picture, and you make that eye travel happen by placing your elements in the right space, depending on their size, their lighting, their perspective, the depth that you're putting on the picture. So, like I said, mostly it's composition first. Then he goes into drawing materials, what kinds of chalks and charcoal, pens, pencils you're using, how to make depth in the picture, contrasting values. Just a wealth of good information here. And I'll explore in your picture. Then he gets into trees, which are very important. It looks like his way of drawing trees is to do a light outline of the trunk first and then start figuring out how to render it. Bold beginnings. He says he used a flat 6B pencil to do this. And here he starts to darken it in. And here he gets even darker and putting in some foliage, some grass at the bottom. To show a light side here, you put some dark behind it. Here's some quick tips about drawing trees. Really good stuff here. Painting with a pencil, how to make tree drawings with a pencil. Usually he uses a soft pencil, he says. How to do trees that say something, that have a story to tell. That looks like my neighbor's tree. Baselines. This will give you perspective. If you have all the lines together, same distance apart, you can't see any perspective. Once you start wide and go up the picture plane and they get narrower and narrower spaces in between, now you've got a perspective. The trees closest to us on the bottom lines, as they go back, their bases are on lines that are closer together, which means that they're further away. So this is a really neat twisty turny tree here. So a really great looking tree there. Lots of textures, shading, values. And as you keep going, now you see where all the composition came in the front. Here's 20 drawings of the same tree, handled with different mediums, different styles, different kinds of trees, and shorthand ways to draw them. How to draw rocks, larger sections of rocks. If you go on a hike, you'll see rock formations. It's a really great book of all these shortcuts that you can elaborate on and turn into giant finished drawings, which is something that I'd like to start doing. How to do clouds, sunsets, dramatic drawings, moonlit scenes, reflections in the waters. Just an uncanny book of information for you. How to draw waves and whitecaps on the ocean. That page at different parts of the wave. Top is the crest, the back of the wave, the thrust of the wave going up. There's the foam splash about to fall down. And then the water that's here gets caught underneath that wave. Just a really great book. How to draw a picture really fast. Some different techniques. Towns and villages. Really great stuff here. Now the other book is just about drawing trees by Henry Pitz, one of the great American illustrators. I used to have a book years and years ago that had a paper cover on it and illustrations inside in black and white. I think the paper cover was a color illustration, pen and ink, all very loose looking. And I used to look at that drawing without reading the book. Found out years later that the illustrator was Henry Pitz, one of the great illustrators of the 20th century. Here he's showing you different styles of trees. Some quick sketches of different trees here. This white oak tree was done with a dry brush technique on an illustration board. Here's how to draw the leaves, the foliage on the trees. Shorthand methods. How to draw tree trunks. All these really interesting trunks done with a 6B pencil. This one done dry brush on illustration board. How to do the boughs and branches. Making interesting trees here. Elm, oak, and maple trees. Look at how interesting those are. How the branches come out from the main trunk. All the texture on the branches in the trunk. Different techniques. Here's how to do pencil and crayon drawings. And if you're going to do pen and ink stuff, whole different look when you do pen and ink. Here he tells you which kinds of pen tips he uses to do that. Here we get some little bit of gray wash tone on the picture. Dry brush, split brush techniques. Drawing trees in charcoal. Fountain brush. Oh, okay, that's what those are. And mixed media, pen wash, dry brush, charcoal, India ink, dropped into a water puddle, pen and lithographic pencil, ink rubbed with a wet finger. Lots of great stuff here. How to draw oak trees. And all different kinds of ways to handle drawing trees, which is really great. Another highly recommended book. How to handle groups of trees. So this part is how different illustrators handle drawing trees. The great illustrator Ronald Searle, this is his tree. Look at that. Looks like he's using a quill pen and some wash and a big fat brush to get some good wash stuff in there. Stowe Wengenroth. He's drawing a black oak tree here. Nicely done. Albert Gold drawing an interesting tree trunk. Another one that I should be looking at and studying. Andrew Wyeth, Brandywine tradition. should go like this. This is N.C. Wyeth's son. Ogden Pleisner, pen and wash drawing. Norman Kent. There's a really good drawing there. Loving that. Got the barn and the trees all around it with the foliage, a little bit of water there at the bottom. Lyle Justice, another great pen and ink artist. Let's see how he does. Ernest Watson, a pencil drawing of a tree. That's really cool. Kautsky, don't know this illustrator. Claude Lorraine, pen and wash drawing. Carl Four. And one last one by A. Waterloo, a pen drawing. So that's probably a Crockwell pen dipped in ink. But look at all the different textures and values, contrast, line weight, and you know that this is water coming down here. So a really great book, Drawing Trees by Henry Pitz. And the other book was Drawing Scenery by Jack Hamm. And I highly recommend both of them. So in the meantime, keep drawing, and we'll see you next time.